All right, what's up guys? We're just gonna jump right into the live action today. I am buttoning up the bottom end of my engine today. I'm working on a 402 short block Ford FE, and it's a 390 that's bored 60 over on each piston, so we got an additional cubic inches, which is cool. So I'll explain more when I get there. Today we got to check rod bearing clearances for one journal left over, and use some plastic gauge to check the clearances, and then we'll be good to go. So let's get to the live action. All right, so now we're at the storage unit, and this is kind of my engine building room. I've got my tires, my 295s here that are going to go onto my truck. Of course, my headers and a spare radiator, some other goodies in here. NASCAR boom tubes that'll go on. Y'all see that before too long. Extra block, etc. Anyway, this is the Ford FE 402 short block that I'm working with. I've already got the oil filter boss already mounted, oil pump and pickup. This is a milling high volume oil pump and a milodon pickup tube, and just a 390 bottom end, bored 60 over, so it's a 402. But here's that rod journal I was talking about. I gotta get this rod bearing. It's a Cleveite bearing. Picked it up from O'Reilly's the other day. I got some plastic gauge here. We're gonna check the clearances on it, and because the oil clearances on these are between 12 and like 22 thousandths. That's 10 thousandths. On some forums, people have ridden them out with close to 25 10 thousandths. So anywhere between 12 to 23 and a half is what I'm going to shoot for, 10 thousandths, and we should be good. So let's get a crack on it. Let's clean that surface. I'm gonna clean the cap surface, and to be sure the bearings are clean too. We'll cut a small strip of plastic gauge, and we will go from there. As you just saw, I torqued down the rod cap with that little sliver of plastic gauge in there, and it feels good. Looks like I've got enough threads on each one to match the other ones, but I'm gonna pull the cap off. I didn't use any assembly loop just for this purpose, so that way I could see bearing clearances. So remember that I'm shooting for between 12 10 thousandths and 23 10 thousandths. So it's a pretty broad window, but as long as I'm within that range, we should be good. And so I'm going to use the little gauge on the plastic gauge rule on that little side ruler and kind of go from there, and I'll show you what I come up with. Okay, so as you can see, we got our depression on it. So now let's look and see. Now remember, if it's ever a little bit cooler in your workspace, tolerances may change a few thousandths, so you have to be sure that they are within your clearance tolerances. So goal would be 15, at most the 2. So between the 15 10 thousandths and the 20 10 thousandths. So let's just see here. To me, it almost looks like the 2 10 thousandths or the 20 10 thousandths. So we are within range. So we are good. We're good to go. I torqued that down to 45 foot-pounds, and it looks like we're within spec. So now I'll tap this rod back down. I'll get some assembly lube on it, and then we'll torque it for final assembly. Then we can move on to oil pan gasket, windage tray, gasket, and oil pan. Should be good. We can then wrap up the bottom end here, and on another day we'll stab in that camshaft, because I'm gonna have a buddy help me with that, because we're gonna degree it in advance. I just kind of want his expertise. So should be pretty good. We're in tolerances. Everything looks great. These Cleveite bearings look awesome. So we're in good shape. All right, so now that we got that all torqued down the spec to 45 foot-pounds and we brought it up to top dead center, we're looking good. So, like I say, oil pump and pickup tube is in place. Everything is torqued down the spec. We got some fresh assembly lube on that bearing and on that rod. So now it's time to move on to sealing up the bottom end. So I've got a milodon windage tray, milodon gaskets. They're crush proof, which is awesome because then you can't over tighten and then have squish out. Which causes leaks. But anyway, also got a milodon 7-quart oil pan, which should clear my steering linkage on my F100. It's advertised too, so I guess we'll see how it goes. And of course, I've got some ARP oil pan fasteners to go with it. So pretty good stuff. I'm going to seal it up between layers with some ultra black from Permatex. This little caulking can is awesome because you can lay a fine bead and it doesn't dry up as long as you screw this nozzle back down. So pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna put you on time lapse. Let's get at it. All right, guys and girls, that's pretty much going to be it for today. Biggest thing was getting that rod cap and bearing, get it checked out and making sure that the bearing clearances and oil clearances are good, and they are. And so, as you saw, got gaskets between each layer, plenty of RTV between it, going around the bolt holes. I need to go back and get the ones that don't have a washer on this oil pan. Go ahead and put a washer underneath them, zip them down, and then when it's time to do the front cover, I'll take care of sealing the front end of that off as well. So things are looking pretty good, and I'm looking forward to stabbing in the cam and getting the heads on before too long. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for today. Just taking care of some small things here in the unit the best I can, because I don't have the funds right now for sending off the cylinder heads to the machine shop, and so that's fine. We can still work on them. I still got to clean up the ports with some cartridge rolls because I did pour the old iron heads that were on here. There were a 68 year and a 72 year casting iron head, but valves look pretty good. The valve guides look pretty good, and with the new springs from Comp Cams for this hydraulic flat tappet cam, I think that'll work out pretty good. The biggest thing I want to do with those heads is I want to get them CC'd so I know how much compression I'm making with this 402 engine. And once I get the CC numbers back, I can then calculate what kind of power I want to achieve by the compression ratio either given, things like that. And that'll also give me an idea about how much I need the heads to be cut down, so that way I can get to the compression goal that I'd like to have with this engine. I'd like to have 10-to-1 compression, maybe even a little hotter than that, and really kind of blow the doors off of some street cars with an old iron engine. So, like I said, that's pretty much it for today, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.